And presenting Ryan tonight is former AU wrestling head coach Mark Cody.
Thank you. Congratulations to all the inductees. I was lucky enough to be here yesterday for the presentation of the new facility. I'm really excited about that. And I'm very excited about the fact that they're going to have a huge wrestling room. Why did we wait so long? Okay. Wish we could have done that while I was here. But actually, Ryan Flores, I had a call from a mentor of mine named Jim Shields when Ryan was coming out of high school. And he said, you have to check this guy out. There's a buddy of mine who was coaching in California. So he said, go to the high school nationals. I want you to track down Ryan Flores and see if you can talk with him because he's really, really good. He coached, he was wrestling at Buchanan at the time. So I went to high school nationals, watched him just destroy everybody. As you saw, it wasn't much different than it was in college and it was in high school. So I talked to him after the tournament, went up and said, hey, Ryan, what are your plans for the future? He said, I'm going to Columbia. So actually, I was pretty heartbroken after that because you know, Shields had told me what a great athlete he was and just a great person too. So it came back around. Jim Shields calls me again and said, Ryan is thinking about not going back to Columbia. So I immediately, he was still in California, immediately had gotten a hold of his father, and we had some great conversations, really easy to talk to, and he basically brokered the deal between him and Jim Shields. You know, it was recruiting-wise, I finally got to talk to Ryan, and Ryan said, well, you know, I just think I need a change. And he mentioned a friend of his on the team named Kevin Tao, and he said, is it okay if I bring him with me? I said, bring whoever you want, right? Bring your whole family. So he brought Kevin, and Kevin just happened to be a really good wrestler for us and did a good job and put the icing on the cake for a lot of dual meets for us. Also, you know, Ryan was a part of a national championship team in the classroom, and Kevin was also a big part of that. Ryan was also, you know, GPA-wise, I don't ever think he got below an A. If that's not true, don't tell anybody. But workout-wise, I used to work out with the guys in the room quite often because a lot of times we'd have a shortage of partners, particularly in the upper weights. So early on, Ryan came in, and he didn't have anybody to work out with, so I walked over, and there's referee's position where he gets on the bottom. I said, let's start there, first of all, get you on the bottom. So I jumped on top of him, and I could hang in there. I could do pretty well with most of them. Well, within seconds, I was on my back in a pretzel hold. And I felt like my shoulder went out of joint. I felt like my hip went out of joint. So I said, okay, that's one time. Let's try it one more time. So I gave another shot, and I remember thinking to myself, I ended up in the same position, right, on my back, really hurting. Then I got out of there, and I said, never again. I have 3 young children at home, and I want to make sure I'm able to throw them a ball as they're growing. So I stopped wrestling with Ryan the rest of his career here. Ryan was also real good with the kids. He was great at playing with a DS game, and he was the king of Mario. So he was also one of the high scorers in the game. And my kids, when we would get on the bus, sometimes we'd take the kids with me, and Ryan was their hero, not because he was a great wrestler, but because he was so good at playing Mario. And and thank you, Ryan, because still to this day, they love video games. Matter of fact, we take their dinner up to them in their room, thanks to you. We appreciate that. You know, Ryan was, you know, obviously an academic All-American. As I mentioned, a part of a national championship team in the classroom. As a wrestler, obviously, you know, we know all that he's accomplished. There's nothing more powerful than a humble person with a warrior spirit, and that surely is Ryan. We would always ask that when you walk out on the mat, we want you to destroy whoever you wrestle against and come off the mat and be a kind, considerate person, and that surely is Ryan Flores. And Ryan, I want to personally thank you. The program's thriving right now under Coach Borelli and his staff. I couldn't be happier with how things are going here. That's probably the only thing I look up on Instagram is how they're doing, and I love to see the videos that they put out. And again, they're doing a wonderful job here. And Ryan, I want to personally thank you for paving the way for one of the people to pave the way for this program. one of the nicest human beings on the planet, one of the toughest human beings on the planet, Ryan Flores.
All right, so I do have something prepared, but first and foremost, did you guys see that footage, man? Don't let anybody say anything bad about the dining hall at American University. Goodness gracious. Oh, man. All right, so good evening, everyone. It's a great honor to be here. Thank you, Coach Cody, for all the kind words. I really appreciate that. You know, when I got the call from Mark saying that I was going to be inducted into the Hall of Fame, I got to say, I felt a tremendous sense of gratitude. And they say a man is fated to suffer two deaths. First, when his heart ceases to beat, and again, when all of those who remember him are gone. So despite my career ending over a decade ago now, it's good to know that I'm not the only one who relives the old glory days. So I was asked to share a bit about my memories and experiences at American University, but if you'll indulge me, I would really like to share with you the story of how I ended up at American. It's been said several times that I started at a different university first, and I think that story is very emblematic of my time here. So, like I said, for those of you who don't know, I spent the first 2 years somewhere else, and then I transferred to American. But before that, I began wrestling. Like many of you who make it to this level in sport, I started at a very young age. And from that age, I knew that no one in my family at the time had graduated from college, and I wanted to be the first. And I thought that it might be difficult to do so, to make it to college, and I knew I wanted to leverage wrestling to help me get there. So in the early days of my career, I had a brief, fortuitous encounter with a coach from an Ivy school, which will remain nameless for now. It went as you might expect. You know, it was the work hard, do well in school, and maybe someday you'll wrestle for us. Well, for me, that was enough to plant the seeds of a dream. And it's funny how that works sometimes, how the right words from the right person at the right time in your life, they can alter the trajectory of your life in ways that they're hard to foresee. So thus the goal became clear. It was Division I, Ivy League. Now, years later, and I say we, particularly I mean some of the folks here at this table, we made that dream come true, and I got accepted, and I attended that school. But like many things in life, expectations, they don't always match reality. Now, by no means am I speaking ill. I'm grateful for the opportunities that university provided for me. But looking back now, I think it's easiest to say I was a square peg in a round hole. I never felt at home, and I felt like we saw the effects of that ripple out, and most especially on the mat. And by my sophomore season, I knew that something, it just wasn't right. It wasn't right for me. And then I had another brief encounter with a different college coach, one that would also change my life, but I didn't know it at the time. Now, this was at the duel against American, remember, at the time. And after the meet, the coach came up to me, unprompted, and he took me by the arm, and he pulled me in close, quite close, to tell me privately, almost as if it was a secret. He said to me, "I think you may be one of the best heavyweights in the country." Now, truth be told, I think it was a secret, even to me, especially at that point in my life. And at the time, I thought it was a genuine, albeit quite strange compliment to give to someone who is not on your roster, especially since I had just pinned his guy, right? But I didn't give it any more thought until the weeks leading up until my return for my junior season. And that feeling that something wasn't right had become too strong, too loud to ignore. And I opted not to return to school, as Coach Cody had mentioned. And instead, I spent the year at the Olympic Training Center, not really having a plan, and not really sure what was next for me. And I had a lot of people question my decision to leave. They told me I was making a big mistake. They wondered if I would even finish college. Some people thought I was homesick and just wanted to go home. I wasn't certain where life was going to take me, but I knew that my dream to succeed in wrestling and to graduate from a prestigious university, that dream was still alive. And so in pursuit of a new school, I spoke with a handful of coaches, but in the back of my mind, I could not shake the way that one interaction made me feel. And before long, I found myself on campus at AU, laying my head to rest on Massachusetts Avenue, going to Tenleytown for some grub, and forging bonds and making memories with my teammates, my coaches, my classmates, and my friends. And I felt like I was at home. And it's strange, actually, flying in and driving to campus. In some strange way, in some small way, I feel like this place is still a piece of home to me, even though it's been almost a whole lifetime at this point. So often I tell people that leaving the school of my childhood dreams was one of the most difficult things that I ever had to do. But in the same breath, I always tell them that choosing to go to American University was absolutely one of the best decisions I've ever made. It's a decision that was made in no small part due to the right words from the right person at the right time in my life. Words that instilled belief that my dream, my childhood dream, was still alive, and belief that I could be part of something great. Now, to speak on my time specifically at American, I recently looked back, as we do, through an old list of my teammates, and in hindsight, I have to say we made for some strange bedfellows. Many of us were transfers who were grateful to have found a home, people like myself, Gumbayar, Tao, as we mentioned, guys like Steve Fittery. Some of us I would describe as the most hard-nosed and dedicated warriors I've ever met in my life, people like Mariaker, Terrell, or the Barreros. Now, others, on the other hand, were, they were some of the most interesting and entertaining and endearing characters I've ever had the pleasure to know, but we won't name any names for that list. But we came together through that same belief I spoke of earlier. We believed in ourselves and we believed in each other, and it led us to a program best finish. It led me to twice All-American honors, and now Hall of Fame at my alma mater. And for that, I'm very proud and I'm very grateful. Before I go, I'd like to say a quick couple of thank yous. I'd like to thank my wife for supporting me through this time. We've been together since before the transfer, so she's been there every step of the way. And actually, I wasn't gonna mention this, but Coach Cody talked about my academic success, which was obviously a big part of my time here at AU. And I'd like to thank my wife specifically for some of that as well, because my wife was quite the brain, and I may have outkicked my coverage in that regard. But I told her that one semester in college, I would get better grades than her. So you guys remember earlier what I said about expectations not always matching reality? Not quite, but I think I did pretty good, so that was great. I'd like to thank my children for being such good travelers. I'd like to thank my brother and his wife for making it all the way out. My parents for all the support they've given me throughout the years, in particular my father, who was my first coach and without a doubt the one who had the most influence on me. I'd like to thank Coach Cody, and I'd like to thank everyone at AU who helped me every step of the way and helped put together this wonderful event. So thank you very much.